Christmas advert in 2011. It's taken on an extra meaning for some former workers of the retail giant who've been told that they won't get compensation for being underpaid on Sundays and bank holidays. John Lewis will pay £40 million between them to current staff who are underpaid due to an error which went on for 7 years. But staff who have left will not get compensation. People like Gordon's daughter, who recently took a new job with another firm. Gordon wants the company to reconsider.
It's money that people have actually earned and should be paid. You're a £9.5 billion company. It's a drop in the ocean, really. They're all partners and worthy partners when they're employed, but as soon as they're gone, obviously not worth diddly squat to them.
Well, that's one father's view of John Lewis. Gordon contacted Moneybox to see whether his daughter could force John Lewis to pay her the money. It was now knowingly underpaying. Live now to Edinburgh to speak to Robert Holland. He's an employment lawyer with Balfour+Manson. Robert Holland, just explain why John Lewis has to pay compensation at all.
Afternoon, Paul. Well, the situation here is that holiday pay is based on a notorious piece of European legislation called the Working Time Regulations, which really, in essence, gives you 5.6 weeks of paid leave each year. Now, that's fine if your employees work a standard 5-day week, but if you have a scenario where you have retail staff who often work, say, Sundays or bank holidays, then the calculation itself is skewed. And the second problem that we have is that often in retail, people work extra time, they work long hours, and they work holidays and bank holidays. So that means that their calculation for working time and in their average pay is calculated differently from the normal pay rate.
OK, so it was all complicated. John Lewis has now sorted out the computer software or whatever it was that got it wrong, but it's decided to give the right amount of money to current staff, or partners as it calls them, but not to those who left of their own accord. So current partners, retired, redundant people will get it, but people like Gordon's daughter won't. Can they do that?
Well, Paul, the position here is that you can actually raise a claim. If you've been underpaid holiday pay, you have 3 months from when you actually left John Lewis to do so. What I find in this situation a bit disingenuous from John Lewis is that they're saying here that current staff will get it and those that are left won't. And the question is, why are they doing that? It's not legally correct.
Right, well, it's not legally correct, but is it more a matter of how can you enforce it? How would you enforce it? How could Gordon's daughter, for example, did she have to do it quicker than within 3 months?
Well, I would say that if you have just found out about the situation and you have worked for John Lewis, then you have the right now to go and see an employment lawyer and to raise a claim, because the judge in the employment tribunal will say that it wasn't practical for you to do so until you found out about it.
Well, that's your legal rights, but of course as soon as you mention lawyers, most of us think huge bills, and of course even going to a tribunal isn't free now, is it?
Well, and here is really the interesting point, because tribunal fees, if you've been following it, have actually been for the first time initiated at the rate in this case of about £400 for raising such a claim. So if you now want to go and recover your holiday pay, which may be, say, £200 or £300, you're going to be left out of pocket.
And what is the average that people might recover?
Well, the average, as I've heard in this scenario, Paul, is about £400. So it's exactly the same as raising the fee. And it begs the question, did John Lewis leave it until after fees were introduced?
Well, I have to say, John Lewis have told us that they deny timing was a factor and said it worked quickly to provide compensation as soon as the problem was identified. Now, you mentioned those fees, which are new to most people. Just very briefly, can you ever get them back?
If you're successful in your claim, then you will have the chance to recover them. Right. But as I say, that's just a fee, and you also have to go and pay the lawyer as well. OK, well, thanks very much indeed for that help, Robert Holland. And I just more from John Lewis, they say it's simply not possible or practical to trace those who have left the partnership over such a long period of time. It believes its approach is the fairest, most effective and most practical way of putting things right. So thanks, Robert Holland from Balfour+Manson. Now, a new law will force